1 in 3 households must pay unaffordable rent prices. There is a record-hitting housing shortage. And on top of that, housing prices are sky high. How are we going to solve the housing market crisis? Meet this guy. His name is Johnny. Yeah, Johnny.
Johnny is a young individual who just graduated from college. He's got a master's degree in communications. Yeah, communications. Johnny gets a good job in a city a couple states over. He pops open apartments.com and Zillow.com, and then reality sets in. Johnny is one of millions of young professionals and students who are finding it extremely difficult to find affordable places to live. Okay, so now let's talk about Grandma and Grandpa. Grandma and Grandpa have lived by themselves for 20 years. They want to stay in their current 2-bedroom home and nice community as they age in place. This is difficult though because they have insufficient fixed incomes and retirement savings. They are experiencing rising home maintenance costs, rising property taxes, and the ever-increasing feeling of loneliness and social isolation that statistically comes with just getting older. And last but not least, we can't forget about Jane and Lewis. Jane and Lewis both work full-time jobs and have one child with plans for another. They would like to have a little bit more space for their family to grow, although housing prices are way too high to afford mortgage payments.
Let's put it this way, the housing market crisis is affecting all of them.
Johnny needs a more affordable living arrangement, Grandma and Grandpa need some extra cash and companionship, and Jane and Lewis Turner need more space and an affordable mortgage payment.
People like Johnny, Grandma, Grandpa, and the Turners are all looking for a more affordable living arrangement. Multi-generational housing is a household that has 3 or more generations living together under one roof. Typically, that's 2 to 3 adult generations and some children. But they don't always have to be related. People from totally different families and totally different backgrounds sometimes will live with each other.
Let's look at some examples of multi-generational housing. A widowed elderly man is lonely and finding his days to be repetitive and unfulfilling. He would like some company, so he reaches out to a family he knows in the neighborhood and makes a deal with them that he will babysit for them on the weekend so that the parents can get out. They also live in a college town and a student is looking for an affordable place to live, and also a vehicle to get him to and from class and his part-time job. He moves in with them to split the mortgage and car payments. Another scenario is an elderly couple is having trouble keeping up with their yard work and their home maintenance, so they allow a young person to live in their home if they help out around the house. She brings her 5-year-old along with her so that the elderly couple can help with their homeschooling while she is away at her really demanding job. One more scenario is that possibly a family is realizing that their grandma is having trouble living on her own, and she's having trouble keeping track of her medications. So the family gets her to move in with them. And at the same time, their 22-year-old son is just graduating and he needs a place to recuperate after a really demanding school year.
Their situation is just one out of countless possible living dynamics. Many homeowners, younger and older, already have some space to share in their home, or they can construct the space for others to move in with them. Something very similar to multi-generational housing, although very different, is multifamily housing. Multifamily housing is very similar, although in a multifamily house plan, the living suites are completely separated from one another under the same roof. Think something like a duplex, a triplex, or townhomes. Although in most situations, multi-generational housing is much more cost-effective and sustainable to build than multifamily homes. Unlike multifamily housing, multi-generational housing brings all of the living suites together under one roof. This means that multiple generations are actually living within the same shared living suites. Typically, you'll see like the kitchen, the bathrooms, and the communal spaces are all shared. In some situations, some members of the household may also share like a bedroom or a bathroom. It utilizes space that is already built or requires less material than new construction. Multi-generational housing is a solution to the housing market crisis because if we open up our homes to people of varying age groups, we can increase the housing supply. This means that we can effectively and hopefully mitigate the cost of rent and mortgage payments. It's definitely not the only solution, but it definitely can help the housing supply catch up to the housing demand. You're probably thinking one out of two things. You're probably thinking, yeah, that's amazing. I have all this extra room and I want people to move in and I want to make a difference. Or you're thinking, there is no way I'm gonna let some stinky stranger in my home. Ooh. Letting someone else stay in your home or staying in someone else's home at first can be really strange, and it's probably not for everyone. Back in the late 1800s, overcrowding actually caused a lot of public issues and concerns. Young people and single people stopped living with older families and widows like they have been for a very long time. And unfortunately, this led to the end of a low-cost housing solution. Fortunately, in current times, public health issues can be managed in a healthy manner. There are a lot of tools like short-term leases, background checks, social media history, and credit checks that offer a lot of insight into who people are allowing in their home. The National Shared Housing Resource Center's list of 40 nonprofits and matchmaking websites like Nesterly are all pushing for a resurgence of small-scale home sharing programs. They really help with the older generation who are looking for a little bit more company. I'll throw a couple links in the description below if you're interested in checking out those resources. Multi-generational housing can be fun, safe, and an enlightening experience that can aid others in finding affordable living arrangements, help you save a little bit of money, all while helping to solve the housing market crisis. If you currently live in multi-generational housing, throw a comment down below and let me know how much money you save as opposed to if you were to live in multifamily housing. Also, it's really hard to cover all the benefits of multi-generational housing, so if you see I missed any, go ahead and throw those in the comments too for me.
As opposed to multifamily housing and living conditions where families and age groups are completely separated, more than 70% of people living in a multi-generational household have enhanced relationships, more convenient and higher quality care for children and adults, improved financial situations, improved mental and physical health for household members, and the ability for a family member to pursue education or training in their newly found free time. It expands family leave and allows for more flexible work hours. It increases access to home and community-based services and support. It supports an innovative approach to education at home. And a big one for a lot of people is that a vehicle can be shared and carpooling becomes an easy option for commuting or errands. Most importantly, studies show that multi-generational households are better for the development of children over single-family and multifamily households. And it offers amazing support for our ever-growing older generation as they age in place.
Multi-generational housing has so many benefits that stretch far beyond our current housing market crisis and our financial strains. Our society has largely stepped back away from multi-generational housing in lieu of multifamily housing. Although, due to the current economic climate, it seems that everybody is diving back in. The housing market crisis can be resolved, it's just going to take some time. By sharing our spaces, we can house families and individuals, which will alleviate unreasonable rent and mortgage payments, and reap the multiple benefits that we get when we share our spaces and our resources with multiple generations. Check out that video up there to see what an architect really does on a daily basis. And right here beside me are my Patreon supporters. Patreon is where creative thinkers and makers like you can support someone like me. As a patron, you also get access to a lot of exclusive downloads and benefits. Regardless though, thank you for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.